convincing anyone that they can file a more accurate return and receive acknowledgments and refunds faster is never the question. This technology has come a long way through the years, and the IRS is always looking for ways to improve its MEF system to benefit them, but also benefit taxpayers and tax preparers along the way. Welcome to another episode of the Taxverse podcast experience by CrossLink Professional Tax Solutions. I'm your host, Zach Kreitz, of the podcast that helps tax businesses and entrepreneurs grow their community, generate more revenue, and expand their knowledge. In today's episode, we're going to address a very basic necessity to the industry, but if you stick around, you may learn a couple of things that you didn't know. Today's episode is on electronic filing, or efile. In this episode, I will review what efile means and how it works. I will also review some of the benefits that come from e-filing. Let's get into the episode. To start, let me take you back when e-file first originated. The IRS started accepting electronically filed tax returns in 1986. The pilot was with 5 tax preparers in 3 cities, and 25,000 returns were filed. The program at that time could only accept simple returns that were actually due a refund. The pilot expanded over the next couple of years until Congress passed the IRS RRA 98, containing a provision setting a goal for an 80% e-file rate for all individual tax and information returns in 1998. Since then, the program has evolved to accept electronic payments and e-signatures to make the e-file process entirely paperless. In 2004, the IRS debuted its modernized e-file, or MEF, which was the next generation of IRS e-file that accepted business and information returns. Now, we still adhere to the provision from 2009 that Congress passed that required tax preparers that filed more than 10 individual tax returns to file electronically. And today, tax preparers all over the country e-file more than 70 million tax returns each year. So, how does e-file work? Let's start here. Taxpayers or tax preparers enter tax information into a tax software of their choice. The software then will check the entries to ensure that the information needed to complete the return is present and that it's calculated accurately. Once this process has been completed, the software will then transmit the return electronically to the IRS or state department. Then the IRS or state will send an acknowledgement back to the software stating the return has been accepted or rejected. This basic technology is something we are familiar with today, but for those that started preparing taxes back in the 80s and 90s, this was revolutionary. Additionally, I want to review some of the most common benefits of e-file for today's world. And the first benefit of e-filing is accuracy. Like much of the world today, we rely on machines to calculate or analyze data for correctness. E-filing is no different. Utilizing a tax software program to successfully calculate and complete tax returns is much more accurate than preparers relying on their own math. Filing tax returns with a tax software program helps taxpayers and tax preparers avoid mistakes by accurately doing the math and ensuring all the information is included for the return to be accepted by the IRS or state department. This does not mean that these tax returns will be correct, since incorrect data entries will exist and individuals will choose to manipulate or report entries incorrectly, but just the basic concept of completing a tax return electronically by using a tax software program is a benefit over the option of filing by paper. The second benefit of using e-filing is convenience. Returns can be filed electronically at any time by the taxpayer or preparer. Preparing a return by hand, packaging, and mailing the return is way more time-consuming than preparing an accurate electronic return and submitting it for acceptance. Also, when a return is filed electronically, the taxpayer will receive their refund within 21 days unless the return needs to be further reviewed. If the return was sent by mail, the taxpayer will receive their refund in 6 to 8 weeks because of the manual review process that takes place with these paper filed tax returns. A good question that most people ask when filing a tax return electronically is, When will I know the return has been received? When the return is e-filed with the IRS or state, they will send an acknowledgement to the taxpayer that indicates the return was accepted or rejected. If the return is accepted, the taxpayer knows that the IRS or state has received the return and will process it. The IRS or state will send the taxpayer a refund or process their payment if the option is chosen on the original return. If the return is rejected by the IRS or state, a reject code, along with an explanation of the reason it was rejected, will be provided. The preparer can then correct the issue and resubmit the return electronically until it is accepted. Convincing anyone that they can file a more accurate return and receive acknowledgments and refunds faster is never the question. This technology has come a long way through the years, and the IRS is always looking for ways to improve its MEF system to benefit them, but also benefit taxpayers and tax preparers along the way. If this episode provided some value, which I hope it did, please leave us a review. And if you are someone that is looking to start a tax preparation business and begin the e-filing journey, give CrossLink a try. You can contact our team directly by calling 800-345-4337 or email us at sales@crosslinktax.com. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Taxverse Podcast Experience. I am the host, Zach Kreitz, and I will catch you on the next one.